Hey everybody, welcome to another deck guide. Today we got the deck guide for the Chant of the Mul Daya. I'm not sure exactly how to say that. But anyways, it's a mono green Eldrazi deck. Sort of like similar to the Ancient Depths from 2012, but a little bit different. And today we're going to go through this and I'm going to give you guys my deck build that I think is the best one I've seen so far. So let's get into it. The first card we got is it's a legendary land. Basically, this is it's a good card because number one, it makes your Eldrazi spells cost 2 less to cast, and it's also a fetch too. You can fetch your Eldrazi spells, well, creature cards. And you'll see this build, even though I don't have a lot of Eldrazi creatures. Sorry, it works very good. I mean, it's a good card to have in there, so I put that guy in there. The Scoop Mob, it's a good card. You could put it in there. I'm not sure. We're gonna come back to that. Exploration. This would be a good card. The only problem with this card is that it doesn't fit into the deck I'm playing. Like, it lets you play a land, which is great, but it doesn't let you like what I find happen when I played this card is I have no problem getting land with this deck. It kind of becomes an extra card, and like you run out of cards to play. Like, you play all your land, and you don't have nothing to play. So like I kind of took both of them out just because I find like it empties your hand too quick, and it just eventually becomes an extra card that you don't need. Green Sun Zenith, very good. Lets you search for a green creature with mana cost X or less. Very good card. Vastwood Hydra. Yeah, I took that out. It's a good it's a good Hydra. I don't like it in the deck. This card is very similar to the Exploration, meaning like you don't need it. Like, I've never had mana issues with this deck, and I find that like you don't need them. Like, I think if you play like these kind of cards, the deck suffers from card draw, and you ramp up super fast, but then you have nothing to play. So I took kind of those cards, and we're gonna play some other cards instead. Tangle is great. Prevent all combat damage and attacking creatures don't tap, so you can use it offensive or defensively. It's a great card. Explore, awesome. Lets you draw a card and play a land. I'd much rather have this than one of these or one of these in my hand, just because, like, you'll see, like, you don't need you have tons of ramp. You don't need any more. Like, draw a card and play an extra land card is great. Rampant Growth, again, for 2 mana, lets you play an extra land. Well, not play an extra land, search your library for an extra land, so that's a great card. Grazing Gladeheart it's a good card. It doesn't fit the deck, and I know a lot, like, you're probably thinking, it needs life and creatures, but for my 3-drop, I'd rather play this guy. I think I put 3 of these in here. Yeah, I put 3. And the reason why I'd rather play this is turn 3, you don't want to play this guy. You want to play this guy because, number 1, you can chump block him, and number 2, he searches your library for, again, you turn, like, you always want to keep ramping up into your big spell. So in turn 3, or you want to get that turn 3 creature out to chump block if you have to, and then he fetches you another land at the same time. So he thins your deck out, gets you a land. Great card. Fierce Empath is good. I put one of these in there just to get because he chump blocks and you can fetch creature card. If you want your Titan or something like that, put him in there. Rites of Flourishing, I don't like. Vengevine, I don't like it in this deck specifically. It's a great card, just I don't like it in this deck. Oracle Mul Daya, put 3 of those in there. It's a very, very good card. You want to play this guy as soon as possible. As soon as you play him, you can play with the top card of library. If you're on turn 4 and you get this guy in your hand, play him down first and then pick the land to your deck, because he's kind of gives you card draw at the same time. Lets you play more land. So hopefully you'll hit that land. But I definitely put him in there. Elfish Piper, good card, but again, I want to be hitting these guys on turn 4, so I took them both out. Same with this, I don't want that. I want to I want to be hitting these guys. Harmonize is a good card. Lets you draw 3 cards. I do like that. Woodborn Behemoth for 5 mana. I'm not a big fan of it. I think the majority of these out. Yeah, I took that. I took all these 5 drops out. Plow Under. It's a good card, but no. It slows the deck down too much. Bounty for Harvest is I don't like it at all. Titans, you want all 3 Titans for sure in there. Vigor is a good card, but it gets tricky at this point because you got to know what you want to keep. So we'll come back to him because we might bring him in, we might not. Summoning Trap. It's a good card. It's just that it's a bit of a luck. You know, like you're only gonna cast it for 0 if you're playing against a blue deck, which isn't that often. And it's the top 7 cards, and if they're not creature cards, you don't get nothing for 6 mana. It becomes a dead card. So I took it out just for the chance factor. Gaia's Revenge. I'm not a fan of it in this deck. Avengers Zendikar. This card alone made this deck a lot better. There's plenty of ways to fetch him. I get him almost every game, and his ability is just unreal. You put all your green plant tokens, so you get tons of chum blockers, and then when you put a land on the field, boom, they all get +1/+1. It's an amazing card. Placoorm, great card. I think I put 3 of these in there. Yeah, it's good because it's just a life gain. When you spread, you gain 7 life. You just 7/7 with trample, and you get to draw a card when he dies, so he replaces himself. And like I said, you gain 7 life. Usually when you play him close to dying, like he can get you out of some tricky spots. All is dust. Great. Tooth and Nail I put in there just for the fetch. Usually you get to entwine it. Extra 2 mana. All is dust. I believe I put 3 of those in there. Terastodon I'm not a big fan of, just because it's usually, you can use them on yourself, but I don't know. I don't like it personally. These Eldrazi cards are good. It's just that I don't like to have too many. I think that the deck works better with more of the bigger green creatures, and then playing a few select Eldrazi's, which I'm about to show you. Eldrazi Conscription is good. It's just, you could play it. It's just that I find in the early game I usually chump block all my early creatures, so I don't really have a good use for them. So I'd rather just have a body later on. So these 2 I put in there and I think that's the only Eldrazi's I run. These are great, but the problem with these guys is that they're easy to remove. None of them are indestructible. I like to have the ones that when you play them, at least you get an effect. So if somebody was to kill this, at least I would get to put another creature on the battlefield in my graveyard, like a Titan or something, just something. So these are great. It's just that they don't have an effect when you play them, so it's easy for your opponent to counter or kill them, and then they become dead cards. So how many cards you got? 59 at this point. I like 25 lands, so at this point I could put really anything I wanted to into this deck, and it'd be up to you guys. You put a Scoot Mob, you could put another elf, you could put really anything that you like. If you wanted to put one of these guys, you could. They're not terrible cards. It's just they're all pretty good. It's just maybe you could put a Eldrazi Conscription. It's not a terrible card, but if you're like me, you want to have cards that this thing is really good. This is a very, very good card. I'd probably put that in if I had to pick one. And I think that's how I'd run this deck. This deck is since the expansion came out in the promos, this deck is just, it's gotten a lot better, and it's one of the better decks in the game. So if I was to build this deck, that's how I'd build it. Again, it's really good. I really like this deck. It's really great. I hope you guys like this build. If you have a build for this deck that you want to show me, or you guys want to comment on, let me know, and I will be uploading some gameplay to show you guys how it works. Okay, thanks guys.